Howdy folks, Doc here with Last Best Tool, and when I did my video on the CountyComm Meg, which is a folding kitchen knife, more in the kind of the thick blade cleaver space, I predicted that 2026 would be the year of the folding kitchen knife, and Oknife has just released what they are calling the Sentry R1. And this is in Damascus and G10. Now here is the Sentry L1, and I did feature this in that video. It's got a much thicker cleaverish blade, but what we've got here with the Sentry R1, this is a Damascus steel thin blade. I would have put this more in the meat processing than, say, in the vegetable prep. Now you can see here, it'll chop up meat just fine. In fact, I'm only using one hand. Normally I use a tripod, but in this case I'm holding the camera with one hand, and you can see that it just slices through this raw meat. It is just really a sweet knife to use, really simple. So if you look close at this blade, what you see is the Damascus pattern. I believe it's a Damascus 440 stainless. Now, there are bumps on a lot of meat prep knives right here. These are called Grantons or dimples, and they are common on a lot of knives to reduce the suction or reduce the ability for the blade to kind of stick to the side of whatever it is that you're slicing. This is decorative here. There is no dimpling whatsoever, but when you see it, it kind of does have a little bit of that dimpling look. Maybe someday they'll do that, but we're looking at some pretty thin steel here too. The overall operation of this knife, it's got that axis or crossbar lock. Very solid design, something you want to trust. It's got a nice thumb ramp here, even though it's a fairly thin blade. No jimping anywhere, and you know, one of the reasons is jimping is also harder to clean. You've got to really make sure that any dried food, and I showed that when I did a video of, you know, gutting a deer, that actually you can get the material from whatever you're cutting stuck in that, and you've got to make sure you wash that out. However, you do have a sophisticated folding mechanism. So I would be, you know, pretty aggressive with this to make sure you clean it out. And it doesn't have, if I look at this thing, the liner lock, and one of the questions I had is, you know, if I packed food into there, which, you know, anything can happen, you know, would you be able to clean it out as easily? Also, if you notice, this has got, you can see right through there, it has 3 strong standouts there. And you can see it does have a non-reversible pocket clip here, big pocket to hold that. And if you are using this mostly in a kitchen application, maybe in your Overlander or whatever, you may not want the pocket clip, so you could easily pull that off as well. You can see that the screws do go into these stainless liners. But anyway, it's got a strong standout set at the back end, which means that you can easily clean this all the way through. The mechanism up here, it's probably the standard spring mechanism with a crossbar, so just clean that out. You know, if it really gets gunked up, you can pop it open and clean it. It's a pretty simple mechanism, couple of Omega springs, and then you can see the elegance of those 3 holes cut. They didn't really cut a lot of weight. This is a little over 5 ounces, so it's a light but heavy knife, I guess I could say, because simply it's a big knife, but there's not a lot going on. It doesn't have a huge chunk of steel in the front end like some of these others. You know, you can see just a massive difference here. Now, when it comes to cutting, what's kind of neat about this, obviously you want to raise the fingers above your cutting surface, and that's something that's kind of important. But also, it does have a nice tip, like a meat tip. A little bit steeper angle compared to this knife here, and similar to, you know, the Meg here, but the Meg does definitely have the chopping there. So if I'm slicing, I can easily bring this, you know, right to a tip cut, and I can slice through just fine. Here's some cooked meat. You can see it easily slices through this very finely. That's what's going to happen. I mean, generally, if you're using a folding kitchen knife, you're out somewhere, a little austere environment, and you are primarily after, Well, in this case, with the Sentry R1, you're looking for a way to protect the blade, to increase the safety of having the knife handy, to basically shrink the overall size of it, but then also maintain, you know, a significant cutting advantage of what would be considered a kitchen knife. And that's why I think 2026 will be, you know, the kitchen knives that are folding. That's going to be it. I love it. And if anyone's, you know, if you've ever been out and about, you want a good kitchen knife, if you've got much food prep, rafting trips, you know, often, you know, we'd share the KP duties, or the kitchen duties, but also you don't want a lot of things floating around. I guess that's kind of a pun with rafting, but a lot of things that could cut you, that require care, that are large. And then overlanding, same thing. And I could even see this. Sometimes I do shorter backpacking trips and bring some really, really fun food and drink. And that's where something like this, pop it out rather than the Swiss Army knife or the little, you know, pocket knife, and then prepare the food just beautifully, you know, or, you know, catch the food if that's my option at that point. But anyway, there it is, the Oknife folding kitchen knife, right here in red G10. Sometimes some things say micarta, some things say G10. I actually compared it to the Ion here in G10, and I was looking, and I think this is actually a G10 handle, and it's in an axis lock Damascus blade. Comes in black as well. Quite affordable. Beautiful knife. I'll put a link below if you want to check it out further. Let me know your thoughts. And with that, Doc out.